Because if folks, Jolly Yellow talking to you. A little bit under the weather, but let's go ahead and get these DVD haul videos out of the way. This is haul number 4. So this one here, again, forgot which thrift store I went to, but this is actually one of the larger hauls, except for that first one, which was the biggest of them all. This is, man, the second biggest. So got a good little stack here to work with, but let's go ahead and get into it. But first and foremost, I don't care what anybody says. I enjoyed Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Now, I know one major complaint is the starring pair actors in this movie. They were not a good fit for that particular movie of what Luc Besson was trying to do, or Luc Besson. But I still like this movie for what it was, even if the casting could have been a bit more solid. In fact, chime in the comments, maybe you could think of a better pairing that should have led this movie instead of these two. But again, I'm a fan of it, and to this day, it is one of the most beautiful movies ever made. So I stand by it. Look, I know. Ghostbusters 2016. Still trying to get those angles right. But Ghostbusters 2016, if it wasn't for all the media blitz and the social media arguing and the insults and attacks back and forth, this could have been an average movie that just came, did its time, and gone off into the distance. And it could have just been known as a mid movie that was I won't say poor, but a mid attempt at reviving an old franchise. But no. People had to, I'm not going to say bring politics into it, because I'm trying, that's not me. Try to say, oh, keep politics on movies or anything like that. It was more of people outside of the movies. What I mean is even like cast and producers and people behind the camera, you know, there was arguing and insults and attacks from multiple sides. There wasn't just one side responsible for all the strife that happened over this movie. But if it wasn't for that strife, I still say this could have been just an average, 6 out of 10. It could have come in, floated off into the distance, and people could have happily forgotten about it. In other words, if it wasn't for the arguing, it wouldn't have been as relevant as people thought it was. This is one I do very much enjoy. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. My personal, probably absolute favorite martial arts movie of all time. Is just something about setting, soundtrack, the way the fights went. They weren't like intense action where it's like 50 jump cuts to do a single drop kick or anything like that. It was just a nice, beautiful movie, and that soundtrack is something to behold. One of my absolute favorite martial arts movies of all time. Speaking of science fiction and being out in the stars, when I aim to misbehave, I misbehave. This here is Serenity. This is a follow-up movie from the Firefly series I'm sure we're all familiar with. And I know there was kind of mixed opinion on Serenity. I enjoyed it for what it was, even though I hated the way it ended. But word is going around now that most of the cast from the Firefly series are coming back together to do an animated series that's going to take place between Firefly and this movie Serenity. Serenity was still a cool movie, and for $1, really can't go wrong. This is one that I watched maybe 5 or 6 years ago. This is Aaron Eckhart's I, Frankenstein. And I don't know why people didn't latch onto this. Like, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I enjoy, the Frankenstein, the story of Frankenstein's monster and everything like that. And I don't know why people really didn't latch on. I'm going to have to go and research this movie and find out why it's not more highly regarded. I was into it. And I want to go and watch that Bride of Frankenstein movie that came out about a month or so ago. I might be able to catch it later this year when it hits streaming. But yeah, I, Frankenstein was an okay movie to me. Now we're going to get into just, I wonder what this is really about. This right here is something called Warriors of Terra. So when it comes to this Warriors of Terra, this is a movie I've never heard of it, never seen it at random on like Sci-Fi Channel or Shudder or Amazon Prime or anything like that. But the cover art looks pretty interesting, so I bought it entirely because of that. But I'll sit down and watch it one of these days. And last This is why when you go and buy used DVDs, you need to actually look in the box before you pay for it. So if you look, this says creature collection, 8 films about, a creature going crazy or causing problems or being a menace to humanity and so forth like that. So seems interesting. It's like, okay, 8 movies. Okay, not a bad deal. I'm sure they're probably going to be cheesy sci-fi movie of the week quality movies, but unfortunately, this is what was in the box. Something called Horror Classics. I haven't popped this into a DVD player yet, so I don't even know exactly which horror classic movies are on here, but I'm a little bit into horror movies, so again, for $1, and even though it's not what was on the label, this might end up being an interesting one and probably come up in its own video in the future. All right, so that is haul number 4 in the books. That's going to be going up soon. We still have 2 hauls to go, and then I will finally be caught up, and maybe I'll start doing haul videos as I buy the actual items. Otherwise, you folks have a good one. I'll yellow out. As always, keep exploring.